Okay, well, welcome everybody to this webinar organized by the International Repair Cafe Foundation in conjunction with the Centre for Sustainable Design. We have had over 290 people register at the event. I don't expect 290 to attend, but as there's a lot of people going to be on the call, please can you keep yourself muted? And please, if at the relevant stage, if you want to ask a question, please raise your hand and we'll attempt to tackle that. We can't guarantee everybody with such large numbers, but the main point is please, yeah, keep muted or else we get background noise. We've got quite an extensive program from people throughout Western and Central Europe and US. This is, another one in a series of webinars that we're organizing with Martine, and there'll be others in the future. So without further ado, I think I had something else to say, but I forgot what that was because so many, I'm hearing all the pings in my ear about all the people joining. So without further ado, excuse me, I'll pass across to Martine, and Martine, I'll move the slides on a next slide basis.
Okay, thank you, Martin. And welcome everyone to this third International Repair Cafe webinar. And it's great to see you all today. We're, 117 participants at this moment, so that's a great turnout already. And we're going to discuss all kinds of issues during this webinar, issues which are relevant for repair cafes around the world. And we're going to hear from organizers in several countries, from the US and Canada, and to Ukraine and many other European countries. And I would like to take this opportunity to give you a brief update on developments that we see within society which are relevant for the International Repair Cafe network. If we could go to the second slide, please. Well, first of all, we see a growing interest for repairing. More and more people and organizations and governments begin to realize that we really need to make changes in our consumption pattern and in how we organize our economy, and that we should repair on a much larger scale. And this results in discussions about the right to repair around the world and legislation being adopted in more and more countries. And we're going to discuss this topic in more depth later on in this webinar. Next slide, please. And I believe that this development, the right to repair being on the agenda, is at least partly the result of the continuous growth of our international network. Last year, in 2023, we saw the largest growth in number of repair cafes around the world ever. More than 400 new groups joined, and the network grew to a total of almost 3,000 by the end of the year. And this kind of development does not stay unnoticed, even more so because repair cafes tend to stay active for a long time. Many repair cafes in the network have existed for 10 years or longer at this moment, and they all function as local ambassadors for repairing and for changes towards a more sustainable society. So it's thanks to you all that the benefits of repair are being discussed on an international political level right now. Next slide, please. And the second development that we see is an increasing interest for repair activities within education. That is at primary and secondary schools, but also at vocational education institutions and universities. Many teachers want to include repairing into their curriculum, and since there are no official courses available, they often use the repair cafe model to teach their pupils. And this can take different shapes. Sometimes they invite the local repair cafe into the school, and this can either be one time or on a more regular basis. Or a teacher can decide to start their own repair cafe within the school with pupils and teachers and other people connected to the school all joining in. Next one, please. And also we see a growing interest in repairable product design in higher education. Repairability is becoming more important in design studies, and at least in the Netherlands, repair cafes are often involved in projects around repairable product design. This photo is from a design school in Amsterdam, where for a couple of years now, students get an assignment every year to redesign an existing product in such a way that it becomes more repairable. And every year, the school invites repair cafe volunteers to these classes to share their views and to give students feedback on their ideas. And for both the students and the volunteer repairers, this is very inspiring. At the moment, these are still isolated initiatives, so there's no structural approach across the entire education system yet. But I'm confident that these initiatives are forerunners and that repair education will continue to develop in the coming years. And it's very important that it should, because we need a great many people with repair skills for the circular economy of the future. Next one, please. And a third development that we see is that repair data are becoming more important. In every conversation about the importance of repair, people ask for numbers. Journalists always want to know how many repair cafes there are, how many repairs these repair cafes do, which products are popular, which brands we see, which barriers stand in the way of repair. And the same goes for policymakers and manufacturers. They want us to come up with numbers to convince them that people really want to be able to make repairs and that products should really be repairable. So therefore, we provide these numbers. Next one, please. We provide numbers not only about how many repair cafes and volunteers and repairs there are, but also we provide information about the actual repairs themselves. And we do this via our public repair monitor dashboard. As you may know, the Repair Monitor is our tool that we provide to repair cafes around the world to collect repair data. Every repair cafe can join the monitor and start collecting data. Last year, we developed a dashboard for the monitor to give everyone real-time insight into this data all the time. The monitor now contains information about over 80,000 repairs by some 300 repair cafes around the world, as you can see in this screenshot of the Repair Monitor dashboard page. And on the next slide, there's more visualizations. We could go there. The dashboard contains 8 visualizations. They're real-time. Apart from the number of repairs and the participating repair cafes, it also shows the top 10 most presented products and brands in various categories, the success rate, and an overview of reasons why repairs did not succeed. That's the smaller one on this slide. And that's very interesting. This graph shows the barriers that stand in the way of repair. And you can choose to see these visualizations for the entire data set, or you can filter on country or year or repair cafe. So all participants can always see their own results, but also the results for all participating repair cafes in their country, etc. If you want to join the monitor too, if you're not a participant already, just go to repairmonitor.org and there you can sign up. And the monitor really helps our international plea for more repairable products and for legislation that supports repair rather than hinder it. Next one, please. So that was 3 developments that we see here at Repair Café International. And there's one more thing that I would like to share with you, which is that Repair Café celebrates its 15th anniversary this year. And one of the things that we're going to do is host a Repair Café XL in October in The Hague, in the city where the Dutch government is housed. And during this event, we would like to visualize the global aspect of Repair Café by decorating the location with a large bunting line with a flag for each Repair Café around the world. And we would like to invite you all to create one textile flag for this bunting line and send it to us in Amsterdam. On the next slide, there are some examples that Dutch Repair Café volunteers created for us to show what it could look like. And we've made a pattern and instructions on how to make them. You can download these from our website. I'll share the link in the chat in a minute. And we hope that you all download these materials and get creative and send us your flag so that we can put it on the common bunting line. Next one, please. So that's all for now for me. I hope you will enjoy this webinar, and I'll turn the floor over to Martin now. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Martin. I'm just going to follow up there with a couple of comments about other developments overall and a couple of things on our side from our Repair Café before we move into hopefully a video from an MEP that we've tested. We hope we got it to work, and then Martin will come back in again with some comments, and hopefully we have a Canadian colleague as well who might want to comment on what they hear from the politician. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm slightly bit unusual in that I founded a Repair Café and chair one, but I'm also a professor focused on, sustainable design, which I started in 1995. And Repair Cafés are interesting in that they sort of sit between economy and society, and particularly because, many of the people who attend are citizens and engaged are citizens. And as Martin mentioned, Repair Cafés are very much in line with this drive to start to look at the right to repair. What we're seeing in Europe is a whole series of legislative developments from the European Green Deal through Circular Economy Action Plan, and particularly now initiatives focusing on repair. And what we have is new legislation coming in looking at the environmental impact of products, also in terms of green claims, but also we have new developments, particularly around repair and reuse. And in France, we have a repairability index and a range of activity happening from France. We also have, just an example, in Wales, their government there have now recruiting a specific policy lead on repair and reuse. So it's, aligning into government. And we have a directive that's in development around specifically repair that we discussed at a previous session. But just as a reminder there, this is looking at potentially driving repair rather than replacement. And the key thing that's different compared to a lot of legislation in Europe, this is targeted at citizens and consumers primarily. And there's various aspects to this, but an aspect that potentially is most relevant that may become relevant to Repair Cafés is this launch of an online platform. And essentially this online platform will look to list local repairers, provide information, and one of the areas that we had some level of discussion with is should or maybe repair cafes could also be added to these this online database. The Commission, when we first introduced this, weren't even really aware of repair cafes. So I think it's a very live discussion, and you know, many things developing. From our side, a couple of developments, and this is again showing a networking in that we've set up ourselves in Farnham in Surrey in the UK, a network of about 25 to 30 repair cafes in our area. And we just have a very simple monthly meeting where people share knowledge, particularly the more advanced repair cafes like ourselves in that monthly 1 hour Zoom, you know, share information with startup repair cafes, because as Martin was saying, we've had even in our geographical area, we've had many new repair cafes launched, and they're often struggling with issues around setup, insurance. And so it's providing quite a useful platform to share knowledge and expand the network. And I'm sure there are many similar examples around the world now. The other element, building on that link to design that that Martin mentioned, is for a conference I was speaking at, I just asked our repairers at our repair cafe for ideas based on their experience for design improvements to facilitate repair. And because, as we all know, a lot of our repairers have a lifetime of experience around, particularly in the electrical and mechanical areas, but also in many other areas, they came out with many very practical ideas that might be taken into more proactive design that includes, you know, repair and repairability. So the broad point here is just the opportunity to crowdsource ideas, to really take those ideas into different forums, whether it's be education, whether it's policy making, etc. So without further ado, I am going to try and get and hope that the video from Anna Cavazzini, MEP, will work. And perhaps when I play it, if I can see some thumbs up, that would be great to show that you're hearing it.
When your cell phone, your vacuum cleaner or washing machine breaks down, it's annoying at first. It usually happens when you need it the least. Secondly, it's particularly frustrating when you realize that most products cannot be repaired easily or at all, and you have to buy a new appliance. This is exactly where the right to repair should come in, which I am fighting for in the European Parliament and which I want to push through in this legislative period. Products should be designed so that they last longer, can be repaired easily, cheap and safely, and spare parts are easily accessible and removable. If broken products can be repaired easily, this saves money, energy and resources, because we can no longer afford to produce, consume and throw away. And if we don't change this, we will need 3 Earths by 2050 to satisfy our hunger for raw materials. This linear economy is fueling the climate crisis, leading to environmental destruction and human rights violations in raw material extractions, making our supply chains vulnerable to crises and our economy and companies dependent on raw material imports. At the same time, e-waste is the fastest growing mountain of waste in the world.
Martin, could I interrupt?
Our way of doing business must change from a linear economy to a circular economy. A circular economy means keeping materials and raw materials in closed material flows.
Yeah.
We hear Anna speaking, but we don't see the image moving, so the video is not running.
Okay, I think we're going to have to just listen from a
Okay.
technical point of view. For some reason, I did do all my testing beforehand, but the internet and Zoom is always there to challenge us. So I'll just keep going. Hopefully, yeah, people can pick it up without seeing the picture.
Designing and producing products sustainably, using them for longer, reusing, repairing, and finally recycling them. The right to repair is therefore an important building block in the transition to a circular economy. And the figures speak for themselves. Repair is still far from being the norm in the EU. Yet 77% of consumers would rather repair their broken goods than buy new ones. However, only 22% of broken goods are actually repaired. And this is due to a lack of repairability or lack of repair service, which is often only possible via authorized workshops. Around a third of consumers decide against repairs because the repair costs are too high. This makes it all the more incomprehensible what we in the EU had to wait so long for the EU Commission's legislative proposal to reconcile consumer interests with climate and resource protection. Now we are finally in the trilogue phase, negotiating the final legislative text, which I have the pleasure to do as chair of the Internal Market Committee, as well as shadow rapporteur for the Greens, where I am negotiating the parliamentary position for the Green Group. I am happy we found a strong position of the European Parliament, which I can briefly lay out for you. The core is the obligation for manufacturers to repair their products for a certain period of time and the prioritization of repair over replacement in the event of a product defect within the framework of the legal guarantee. In its mandate for the trilogue, the European Parliament clarifies and sharpens the Commission text, despite massive resistance from the Conservatives and Liberals and against pressure from the industry lobby, which was able to pursue some weakening. The European Parliament's report is a breakthrough for tinkerers. We Greens were able to achieve that spare parts and instructions must be available for independent workshops and also for do-it-yourself enthusiasts at home at a reasonable price and at least for the expected lifetime of the product. Unfortunately, the Conservatives have restricted access to highly specialized diagnostic tools to examine products before repair, citing trade secrets, which currently often stands in the way of an analysis of the damage and subsequent repair by independent workshops. From a green perspective, the expansion of the products covered by the directive to include bicycles and smartphones and tablets is particularly welcome. In addition, products will be included as soon as the Commission establishes new rules for them, for example, as part of the new eco-design regulation. So when lifetime requirements are set, they will also be covered by the right to repair. The more products, the easier for consumers, the better for the planet. We Greens were able to get some of our demands for a universal right to repair enshrined in the parliamentary position. For example, that manufacturers must not further hinder repair through certain practices, such as the serialization of spare parts or in contracts, or that they reject already repaired products for repair. We were able to achieve two major benefits for consumers in terms of the legal guarantee. The extension of the legal guarantee by 1 year after the product has been repaired will be a great incentive to choose repair if the product is defective. And consumers will in future be able to contact the manufacturer directly for the repair of the product and will no longer have to go through the retailer. And this puts manufacturers under an obligation and becomes an incentive to design products in a more repair-friendly way if they have to repair them themselves. We would have liked to see more in the so-called hierarchy of remedies, only if repair is cheaper than replacement and only if the repair does not cause significant inconvenience to consumers, should repair be preferred to replacement. To protect resources and make repair the norm, we would have prioritized repair more strongly. Furthermore, member states are encouraged to strengthen repair through financial incentives like vouchers, repair bonuses, etc. We would have liked to see a system of extended producer responsibility, as in France, in which manufacturers jointly pay for repairs. During the negotiations at committee level, there were intense debates about the form for informing consumers about repairs. The conservative liberal side succeeded in making it voluntary instead of mandatory, as the Commission had proposed. It gave in to the industry lobby, which warned against too much bureaucracy. This is a step backwards in terms of consumer information. The parliamentary position also provides for facilitations for SMEs, such as training and support with implementation. We also came across the issue of online marketplaces in the right to repair. Unfortunately, as in other dossiers, we did not succeed in finding a majority to make them more responsible if they cannot name an economic operator who would be responsible for the repair. This leaves a loophole for consumers ordering online from third countries. I hope all of this now clarifies the Parliament position. So thanks for your interest and your invaluable work in repair cafes. It is thanks to your movement that we got the strong text, and I will give everything to get a good result before the European elections. Thank you.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, we could not see the video, but this was Anna Cavazzini, member of the European Parliament, who explained the process of the right to repair legislation, which is now being discussed within the European Union. And this is a very complex process. Some of you may remember that the European Commission came with their ideas about the right to repair last year. And then in last November, the European Parliament responded with, so they discussed the ideas of the European Commission and they took their own position. They strengthened the proposal. They said, we want a stronger right to repair. And this is what they're going to negotiate now, this coming half year. It should be fixed before the summer or before the European elections. And what's interesting in the position of the European Parliament is that they want to give repair cafes, so end users, the DIY enthusiasts that Anna talks about, they want to give them the same rights as professional repairers. And this is really an improvement of what the European Commission suggested, because the Commission only wanted to get a right to repair for professional repairers, but the Parliament wants to include end users, so that's also the repair cafe volunteers, to get access to spare parts, to repair information, to tools needed for fixing. And she said that everything should be available at a fair price. So this is really promising, but we need to see what the end result will be, because there's a negotiation coming up and it's not being settled yet, but that's the state of affairs at this moment for the European Union. And now we, since the world is larger than the European Union, we would like to hear the perspective from outside the European Union too. And I believe, Martin, you are going to say something about the UK point of view, or is that not correct?
Well, what I can say from the UK point of view is that we have our ongoing challenges related to Brexit and the challenges related to some areas where the UK is following Europe and some areas where they're sitting back and looking at other policy options available. And from my experience of being involved in a number of those areas in policy making, a lot of those activities have got slowed down under the present government, and linked to also Brexit. And even there is changes within our environment ministry, that we don't have anybody seemingly heading up circular economy at the moment. But there are things progressing within, particularly in the electronics area, because we're already aligned to the so-called Eco Design Directive. But UK isn't leading in this, I would say. I'd say more of the leadership is coming actually from the Welsh government within the UK perspective. They are being very proactive. The Scottish were being very proactive, but perhaps that's been less visible. But I would say, if we look at the full Europe, United Kingdom in that sense, Wales are, as a small country, are driving this. So I think, do we have our Canadian contact?
We should have her online. Marit
Yes, hello.
Quist Corbett. Hi, there you are. So Marit is a volunteer at a repair cafe in Ottawa, in Canada. And she has been, well, reading about the right to repair and what's going on in Canada in that respect.
Hello. Yeah, so my name is Marie Corbett. I have been volunteering with the Ottawa Tool Library repair cafes since 2017, which was when the first repair cafe was held here in Ottawa. I noticed that there's somebody else here from Canada, so if by all means, if they know more than I do, add that information later on. Honestly, myself, I usually help with sewing and darning, so I'm not really restricted by those technological protection measures that they put on everything. But I know about them. To give you a little bit of my personal background, I went to a store here, Canadian Tire, here once with a cordless drill that wasn't working anymore because the battery was dead. And they told me to buy a new drill. This is years ago. And I was upset, obviously. I tried to find a new battery, but anyway, that was the first time that I noticed, and this is way, like, probably more than 10 years ago, way before the repair cafe started here. The other thing is, when we have the repair cafes, I noticed, Martin, in your list of suggestions of what could be done to make things better repairable, those pesky screw heads that are on everything. That, for example, I remember taking actually a Fisher-Price toy that I wanted to give to one of my grandchildren. It's a little record player. And the screws are all different. They have ridiculous heads, and nobody has the screwdrivers, except that some brilliant guy at the repair cafe did have an array of little screwdrivers that would fit it. Anyway, that's my personal experience. So in terms of Canada, I think we're behind Europe, which is often what happens here. But this is the background. The culprit of this overprotectiveness of manufacturers is the Canada Copyright Act, which was reinforced in 2012 to really be biased towards manufacturers. So that if you try to get, for example, at a motherboard of a washing machine, say, it was equated with trying to find the secret design and stealing it, and an infringement of the copyright law. So then in, I think it was 2021, the Bureau for Competition in Canada wrote a paper suggesting that this should change. Of course, there's huge public support for this because everyone is frustrated about having to throw away things that could be repaired. So finally, private members bill was introduced in the House of Commons in 2021. Unfortunately, that one died, as they say on the order paper, because we had elections and couldn't be finalized. But now, just now in October 2023, a new private members bill was introduced and has been adopted by unanimous consent, which was really great. So there's huge support, party-wide, everybody's supporting it. The bill is now in the hands of the Senate. So the legislative procedure here is the same as in Britain. The bill goes first to the House of Commons, discussed, goes to committees, comes back, it's voted on 3 times, then it goes to the Senate, and they do the same thing again. It goes to committees, and eventually they vote on it. I expect it to pass because there is such public support, and as I say, the Senate actually is often more progressive than the House of Commons. So I think it'll pass. Then all it needs to get is a signature from the Governor General, who represents the Queen here, and it'll be law.
And will it affect the repair cafe business?
That I don't know. I know that, well, yes, indirectly, because what it will do is it will make it easier to circumvent those technological protection measures, the TPRs, they call them here. And obviously, repairers will be able to then repair instead of sending it back to the manufacturer.
Yeah.
Which all of it, that's the whole idea. It will be cheaper for the consumer.
Yeah. So it
and
will
they
put
say
more.
It will be, sorry.
It will put more focus on repairing as such. It will give repairing more attention, which is a big step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, the government, the federal government, in their, I believe it was in their 2023 budget, has promised a review of the right to repair. So hopefully before the next election, that will actually happen.
I mean, an observation that I have from various sectors that I've looked at over the years is often policymakers around the world will look at what Europe does first, so Europe can learn the lessons. So particularly because Europe is sort of leading on circular economy stuff, and a lot of policymakers around the world are aware of that. So actually, a Canadian connection I had there was actually on fishing gear. There's a lot of legislation going through looking at extended producibility responsibility of fishing gear, and the view there was from Canada that let's see how Europe implements it. We'll learn the lessons from that, and then we'll see how we're going. So Europe's often seen as a bit of a hothouse for some of these issues. So that's just an aside from my observation there.
No, and you're right, and my own feeling is that we look in Canada, we also still look at the European Union as something that is progress and better, and we have to all aspire to implement what they do. So it's seen as a now, whatever is going to happen in the elections that we are going to have in either this year or 2025. I don't know, but
It looks
hopefully,
promising.
yeah, it does. It
Okay.
does. It does.
Okay, well, great.
We'll keep working on it.
Yeah, yeah.
So we've got a little bit of time for any other questions. If anybody wants to put their hand up, I mean, the next challenge is seeing people putting their hand up. So if you do have any questions or observations, you know, on the policy side, or you have other knowledge that you can bring in, please feel free to, you know, put your hand up, or I don't see any hands going up yet, and I'm going through the list of people here. But if not, if we don't hear anybody here, we might actually move on
Well, I
to
see someone with
yeah.
their hands up.
Oh yes, I've
It's,
now seen
Vasco
Vasco Basak. Yes.
Vasco Bosak, thank you. I just had a very quick question about right to repair, and if there, alongside right to repair, is there any thing about voluntary industry standards and things where an item could be marked as repairable or environmentally friendly or something like that, so that it gets a sticker or accreditation, and people might be more willing to buy products that are part of the circular economy, like
I
a
mean,
voluntary right to repair.
Maybe I'll just add a quick comment from my side on this. I mean, it's going to be green claims is an area that is being tightened up quite significantly within Europe, and actually in a number of other countries. So just very recently, the Commission passed some green claims legislation. So the use of compostable, recyclable, repairable is going to be monitored much more closely. I don't know the details that sit behind that, but there is now European green claims regulation that was passed possibly about a month ago. So the whole area of appropriate, the whole use of terminology, I think, is going to be more important with the claims. So I see Mandy's hand is up.
Thanks.
Mandy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi. Yes, I just wanted to ask Marit if you wouldn't mind just briefly saying again what this legislation is that's going through. What is it intended to do?
Okay. As far as I know very little, but what I know from what I've read is that it is designed or it's aiming at making it more possible, making it better possible to circumvent the technological protection measures by repairers. In other words, those pesky screws being able to go into the motherboard of a car or a washing machine or an electronic device to repair it, and not in that sense infringing on the Canada Copyright Act. So it's an amendment to the Canada Copyright Act.
Thank you. Thank you.
But does the term built-in product obsolescence emerge in any of the text there, Marit? Because that's a term has risen from sort of under the table to over the table over the last sort of 5 or so years. This idea that manufacturers will build in obsolescence into products. So it's coming from a copyright perspective rather than a sort of design perspective. Is that right?
Right. But I haven't seen that term used. I haven't read everything, as I said, I'm not really the expert, but no, but of course that exists here in Canada as well. What do you call that again? The obsolescence,
built-in product obsolescence.
Intentional obsolescence of a product. Yeah, it does exist, and I'm hoping maybe if and when the government will do that further.
Okay, so thanks very much, Merit. I mean, we've got time to two very short questions. I see Jan and Jonathan Barrett with their hands up. So Jan first.
Thank you. Hey, everybody. Can you listen to me? Yes, I see the yellow square. Okay, what the UE really needs to take the lead worldwide about the rights for reparation is mandatory schematic availability for every product sold on European soil. Too often I see on the repair monitor that no way to fix the product is the first cause for the reasons of failure. Much too often, we nowadays we have very modern tools like thermal cameras and so on, and we see very often SMD components on electronic cards being in a short circuit. You know, they generate very much heat, and we have no way to know what component it is. We know it is a capacitor, but what is its value? We know this is a transistor, but which one is it? Having the schematic for free would allow us to repair for something like 5 cents a card, which would cost 100 euros or dollars to change, and people throw the object to waste and choose not to repair it because the cost is too high just for a 5 cents component and 5 minutes of soldering.
I totally agree with you, Jan. We need much more information, and not just professional repairers need this information, but also independent repairers and volunteers like you and like the entire Repair Café network. So let's hope the European Parliament gets more of their position than the Commission, but we'll have to wait. It's out of our hands at the moment.
Right.
Thank you.
For time, maybe we can just take one question from Jonathan Barrett. Short, succinct questions, Jonathan, is great. And I see other hands up, but we'll have to roll that down the line to keep on time.
Yeah, hi. Hopefully you can hear me. Just a quick one. The company I work for, Sustainable Engineering, we're building an online database of engineering technologies. And we're going to be tagging them as suitable for design for disassembly and design for repair and design for maintenance. This will be rolling out this year. So any engineering teams interested in designing products for repairability and durability, it's going to be kind of a benchmark of information to help them achieve that.
So maybe for Jonathan, just put the link in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay. So great. Thanks for that update. So I think now we'll move on to the program with Gunther. Are you there, Gunther?
We're going to discuss skill assessment in this section. Like when you have new repairers, how do you assess whether they are capable of repairing independently, how good they are, can they operate safely? And several repair cafes have their own procedure for that. And Gunther from Germany is going to tell us about what they do.
Thank you, Martine. I want to thank you especially for coming up with this idea of repair cafes and being so successful to spreading that on the whole planet. You and your whole crew, your whole team. And also thank you for Martin to organize this webinar. I'm honored to be part of it here. And I'm also glad that we will have an anniversary this year. We will be 10 years active and open every week. So cool. So without your efforts, there wouldn't be a repair cafe in Überlingen for sure. Skill assessments. Well, we live in a small town, like 25,000 people. So we don't have so many people to run into our repair cafe and wanting to help us or work there or repair. We have about a dozen people on our crew. And so far, most of them, we were happy to be part of the team and that they help us with repairing some. We have a teacher, we had a psychologist, we have all kinds of people, but we also have 3 engineers, electrical engineers and electricians. So it's quite a mix. So what would I like to talk about briefly, only 10 minutes, various approaches to repairing, which skills are required or wished for, how to find out, and after that, remarks and questions. So I found out there are, next picture, please. There are at least four different personalities for fixing stuff. There's the quick fixer. We have one of them at least, maybe 2, and they tend to, they want to have a fix. They want to fix quickly, and the approach is not to observe, not to watch too closely, but they have an idea in mind and they want to get there to the solution and the repair as soon as possible. So this one guy in our repair cafe, the screwdriver or sometimes the drilling machine is really the first thing to open the case, and I sometimes have to stop him. The other one is the opposite, the hesitant, anxious type. This kind of guy or girl thinks a lot, is not so sure that he or she will be able to repair it, and it might take a long time until the thing is fixed or even the case is open. The third one is the perfectionistic type of personality or repair guy. We have also one of them, and a repair might take 5 hours of something which could be done in an hour or 2. Not only of the perfectionistic, but also sometimes trying to fix one thing will end up with fixing one thing, but putting another error into the coffee maker, toaster, whatever it is, PC. So, and the last one, the serene repair guy, I call him, is the one who tries to repair with all the senses, you know, to before even starting the machine, looking for example, a coffee maker. Is there a lot of calcium in the tank? In what shape is it? Is it well taken care of or more sloppy? What does the coffee look like? Do they use good coffee or cheap coffee? So all this information is really worth digesting, because it might shorten the repair time. And so this personality, I found out, is probably the most efficient one, and the one at least I look for. Fortunately enough, we have 3 more people now. We increased by 3 people just at the end of last year, and all 3 of them are of this personality, serene repair guy. Really happy about that. Next, please. So, which skills are required, or which is good to have, nice to have, good to have? Of course, a basic knowledge in electronics and or mechanics is definitely a good idea. Sometimes people have an education, training, and sometimes people come in. We have one that he's a chef, a cook, you know, he's worked in the kitchen, but for the last 20 years, he just repaired stuff because he was interested in that. And this guy's a really good repair guy. So people don't have to have a degree in electrical engineering in order to repair stuff. Actually, I have a degree and I did not learn one thing about repairing, nothing. You know, it was 20 years ago about, and repair back then, repairing was a foreign word, never heard it. What's equally important is a willingness to accept and learn our safety standards. This is, for us, it's important that we never forget safety first. We will hopefully never repair something just to repair it, but to not be sure that it's electrically safe and mechanically safe. So if we can't keep this standard, then we don't repair it. We just give it back and say sorry. But that's a non-negotiable thing. And actually, we lost one guy because he, after 3 times telling him that he shouldn't use the normal electricity, we have we call it Trennschärfe. I don't know. It's a device which makes working with electric stuff safer, and he didn't use it. And after 3 times, I got angry, and he left our repair cafe. Anyway, an interest and experience in repairing. That's what this chef had, and that was what I think is most helpful to have fun, because that's also important that people enjoy what they're doing. And I can say that our people, yeah, I think they enjoy most of the time repairing. Repairing is a great thing anyway. Using all senses for diagnosis, I talked briefly about it, to not only see with the eyes what's going on, but to smell. Was there smoke in the device? What does it sound like? Is the pump working well? With a little bit of experience, one can decide, is the pump really pumping, or is it electrically defect, or is it blocked? So all these can be diagnosed before even putting a machine apart. A kind of Sherlock Holmes mentality. That's I like this Sherlock Holmes guys with this little magnifier because with this mentality, it's more fun, to look for the fault. Like it's already 8 minutes. Wow, I have to speed up. With this mentality, it's more fun to repair. And last but not least, of course, we have 5 PCs in the repair cafe to use YouTube, which is very helpful. There are lots of hints on YouTube and other channels. There are lots of service manuals also available on PC. We have lots of service manuals on our router, on our own cloud. So without this information, repair is even harder. Okay, next one, please. Of course, team spirit is necessary, I would say. Just because it's supposed to be fun, and it's not fun with somebody who is only doing his own stuff and being on his own. I found that that's what Repair Cafe brings into life so well, because it's this lightness to once in a while just sit down. If nobody's in the Repair Cafe, no visitor, then we have a cup of coffee, we have a chat of something else, about something else. And of course, we have a coffee maker there, and we drink a lot of coffee, maybe too much. And healthy communication, so that we most of the time we have a very good spirit in our workshop, and sometimes it's, you know, somebody's in a bad mood. Okay, we'll get over it. I found it quite important that people are responsible for, and they feel this responsibility we have, because this is we mostly have electric stuff. We repair everything which is electric and which makes tick-tock, so also clocks. And the electrical stuff is really it can be dangerous. So to have this responsibility and to work reliable, so that the safety is not in question, very important. I think it's more fun if we are friendly with people and people are friendly with us. Not everybody is friendly with us, of course, but that's how I learned to, despite of it, be friendly with them. And I think it's just more fun to be friendly. And which I would like to have, but which is not a requirement really, is some concern about our planet and environmental questions. So I would say about 2/3 of our people are really environmentally concerned, and the other ones not so much. But it's a wish, and I cannot fulfill everything. Next one, please. How to find out? Not that.
3 minutes, Gunther.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's easy. Talk, ask questions, and then listen, observe to find out what of these last points are there. Kind of feeling, do they fit in our team or not? And the best way to find that out is to first let them repair. This we have one guy from Vietnam for 3 weeks now, and I gave him 2 things to repair, and I was surprised how well he did. So, and then invite them to repair cafe session and observe them, ask them. This is it for this one, and the next one is time for questions.
For time, we'll roll the questions for in the whole section at the end. We've allowed some time that we'll, you know, because we need to probably get on to the next guy. But just a very quick observation from what you said, and we went through exactly one of your points. Is we've got a guy who's an early retiree, ex-IBM distinguished engineer. He went to to Cambridge University so many years ago, and he was very excited to show me that they're now starting to do design for repairability at Cambridge. When he went there, it was all theoretical, nothing hands-on. So that's just an interesting, literally it was a last session he showed me that. So anyway, we're now hopefully, if we have either Nicolas Sardone or Sebastian Petit, we have some observation from France. If not, I think Martin has some other material. So do we have?
That's right. Sébastien, are you there? Looking
Yes,
for
I am.
Sébastien Petit. Oh, there you are. Great.
Okay.
Do you hear me?
Yes. I think you did not send any slides, so you're just going to speak to us about how you assess skills in your team. Is that correct?
Yes, fine.
If you could
Great.
keep it to about 10 minutes maximum for the schedule, that would be great.
Yes, fine, no problem. So in France, au Repair Café, so the Repair Café Sofia, is an association. So in France, many association is under the law of a special law, and then normally we don't have the ability to refuse someone to become a member. It's very difficult to provide a justification to refuse people. So everybody is welcome in Au Repair Café. And we don't have only repair people. Currently, we are something like 45 volunteers, 35 are repair people, and there is 10 non-repair that are welcoming people and managing the dispatch and checking if thing could be at least completely broken or not, and then managing the social part. So we have a coffee place, so people can discuss and have some good time despite the waiting time and the repair time. And regarding the assessment of people, so the goal is not only to get skilled people that repair for the other. We are not providing a service. We are there since 2013, so we are nearly in the south of France, one of the first of the Repair Café. So we celebrate our 10 year this year, and we welcome everybody. As for sure, we miss some people that come as a repair, so either skill or non-skill, and we welcome anybody that wish to repair. So we get in mind the spirit of what has been done in Netherlands, that it was people that group themselves to help each other to repair, because sometimes you have skill to dismount something, to see something is broken, but you don't know how to repair it. So you need the skill of someone else to help you to brainstorming, to find a solution, or to say yes or no, it's possible or not possible. And we are also people that growing. So I know someone that came some year ago. Before he was a bus driver, now he's retail. So we have a lot of volunteers that are retail people. He started to repair with someone else some coffee machine, and now he's the most skilled of the Repair Café for coffee machine. He gets so many coffee machines that now he has some part. So he dismounts some machine that could not repair. He gets something that is not broken. So I would say the pump often, and he can find a pump that could be adapted in another one, despite it's not exactly the same one. So really, he grew up, and also he learned to other people how to skill. There is very specific skill, for example, for electronic. I wish to be good in electronics. I am computer scientist, but the time to invest and become skilled in electronics is very high. So I am not retail. I am doing sport. I am in 2 other associations. So I don't have much time to invest, despite I wish. So I hope to be retail one time and be able to skill on electronics. So often I dismount, I try, and when I discover that there is some electronics, I have some little skills, so I come. If I cannot, I go to visit my colleague that just next to me and say, please, can you help me? So the expert guy, and he helped me, or finally I say, okay, I will give it to you because it's over my skill. But I learn, I grow, and also some people grow and come, we explain each other. On some very expert guys, sometimes we organize some session to learn how to use a multimeter, or to grow in skill if they want, if they wish, for electronic, for coffee machine, for many things. So really we welcome everybody when they want, and we have difficulty to renew because someone come, then he stop coming, and we need to renew with each other. And now we try also to change the mood of to involve more and more visitor, the one that come and bring their stuff. So we start to give them some material to at least disassembly apparel, their stuff, and telling them you have many things in YouTube, so you can dismount yourself if they are skilled enough and if they wish, but you encourage them. And then also there is some people that come, they are shy. They say, oh, I have tried, but I am blocked. I need you as an expert. So, but we discover they are good. So we tell them, okay, we will do it together, not for you. And then after I say, oh, but I think I am not skilled enough. You are skilled enough to come and to learn and also to share, because often people don't know that they know something that someone else don't know. So it's really a sharing experience, and we need to allow each other to become autonomous. The idea is not that people come to the Repair Cafe. The idea is that people, they could be able, instead of waiting the next week, the next month for the next Repair Cafe date, that they could do many things alone at their home, or not alone, with their neighbor, with their family, with something they can do it every day. Not, okay, I will go to the Repair Cafe. No, I will go when I cannot do something, but the spirit is what I can do myself. So it's really learning, sharing, and really, we don't want to be a service for free or for visitor. We want to be teaching that we can, and also saying, okay, we have also the power of a buyer to buy to a producer that produce something that could be repaired. Something that sometimes it's only that having information how it's working, so we can repair. It's really that. So, and in France there is another association, is HOP, HOP, to stop the program obsolescence, that making many things, and making change of notation of the repairability, and now there is also bonus to repair. So the government provides some money for people to go to professional, so we don't be in concurrence with professional. Now, for example, starting the 1st of January, there is also a bonus to help people to change the glass of phone. You know, many phones broken their glasses when they fall down. So now, for example, we tell to people, okay, go to a professional repair, because we wish that there is a professional ecosystem that allow people to live, to make business with repairing for the other. And this ecosystem, if now there is some people that can do it, and there is some help from the government, I would say money, to make it repair with a professional.
Can I just ask a quick question, Sebastian, in your last 5 minutes, is can you make any observations about how you assess skills of your repairers, or do you build that into your recruitment process, or when your repairers come along, or when they're there, how do you tackle the area of skills?
Okay, so it's really welcoming. Come and start with someone else. If the people are confident enough, you start alone, but instead you come with another one, and they start together. And after, as we say, you start, you take a table, you take an object, and if you need help, ask to the other. So really sharing, and the assessment is by experience. And after, often people, they feel confident to come again or not, but really we welcome everybody, and it's telling, if you think you are too junior, don't worry, the other will help you and you will learn. And it's really not assessment, is really we will help you to learn more. And also we'll get your learning, because some people don't know that they learn a lot of things. So we're welcoming everybody, and without assessment. The idea is that, as it has been explained before, be able to be in a team. So respect and I would say common sense and anything like that.
Okay.
Okay. As we've got 5 minutes left in your time slot.
No, it's fine.
Yeah. No, it's good. We have a couple of quick questions, if they're short and succinct. At the top there's Rainer.
Yes, hello everybody. My name is Rainer Scholz. I'm head of responsible of the Repair Cafe in Böblingen near Stuttgart, and I'm roughly about 100 kilometers afar from Günther, from Germany. So I'm in a happy situation. I manage this Repair Cafe roughly about since 8 years now, and I have roughly about 60 different volunteers working for us in our team. And regarding the question, how we find new experts in helping us, there's a simple rule. I just write an advertisement into a newspaper, and this was the beginning. And after then, I got a lot of volunteers, and then I just asked these guys, hey guys, come on and help other guys to fix the problem. And during this session, I had one simple rule. I a visitor come to us and I say, okay, in front of the visitor, there are sitting always two people, a mechanical guy and an electronic guy. And both are in charge of fixing the problem in front of the customer. And during these days, they learn from each other. And I personally got a very good feeling about the knowledge of these people. And after 8 years now, I was totally surprised. My team grew up to 60 people at now. So they learn from each other, they share information from each other, and it was also an important issue. Then, as Günther mentioned, they all feel the same responsible in terms of security, in terms of maintenance. That means I also set up electronical workshops, and I invited a lot of other repair coffees as well. And with this setup of these electronic workshops, I shared my knowledge to the team, and I asked the team to double the knowledge. And this is my comment to that. And it was happy. I just make a quick laugh over the microphone. I was not clear that the microphone was active, because I'm a volunteer working for IBM roughly about 40 years. And therefore, I must laugh very loud, because yeah, in IBM Germany, IBM is still a very famous company, belong Mercedes and Porsche, and that probably is the reason why we got a lot of good skills in our team. But nevertheless, thank you for this great conference, and also for this great presentation. I definitely will get in contact with the guy in Überlingen, roughly about 100 kilometers apart from me. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Brilliant. I think perhaps we'll now move it along to John, if you're there, John. Are you there, John?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good stuff. I'll move it.
Hopefully my video's turned on, has it?
Yeah, we can see you, I
Oh, okay.
believe.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
scary. I can't see that you can see me. That's very worrying.
Okay.
Okay. We're good to go?
Yep.
Okay, so hi everyone. I'm John Pierce. I'm from the Farnham Repair Cafe, so the same one as Martin. I'm one of the trustees there. I'll give a slightly broader view, as asked, from what Günther gave previously, looking more at the volunteer recruitment widely, but obviously we'll touch on a little bit of how we select those volunteers, or how we just check that they're going to work out okay. So at Farnham, we have a very broad coverage on the cafe. Electrical, clothing are a couple of the main things, but we do a lot of mechanical, a lot of cycles, laptops, and stuff like that. So it's very broad. We've been operating for about 9 years, and I think hopefully these notes will be useful to people on this conference, particularly probably cafes with that had been running less time. I don't, the disclaimer, this is not the answer, anything I say here. It's just what we've found, and we seem to be, we're going from strength to strength, to be honest. At 9 years, we're in our 9th year. And I think at the last cafe we had a couple of weeks ago, we had about 70 visitors come through. So it's nice and steady. What I'm going to cover is how we recruit volunteers, some sort of observations on what we found through recruiting and getting people in, and then some thoughts for where we are in our 9th year. Okay, next slide, please, Martin. Okay, so the recruitment process, I've broken it into 3 areas, as you can see there. So it's, first of all, how do people know to volunteer? So attraction. Then they need to come and engage with us a bit, the onboarding. And then a lighter touch thing, but it's monitoring. Actually, Gunther has mentioned this sort of stuff. The last gentleman did as well. So going back to the attraction, that's been through all our normal media engagements, really. So things like little posters that we put up in, or we used to put up. We don't need to do it anymore, simply because we have more business or more people coming in than we need to try and get any more. So Facebook, we use local press, national press. The local council in Farnham has been very helpful to us, and we get articles in their publications as well that they now support, and they promote our work. And a very important one, word of mouth and volunteers networks. I would say in the last year, probably most of the new volunteers, not that we have needed many, but we've had about 3 in the last year. And I think they've pretty well all been through Friends of Volunteers. So someone comes along to join us, we need to get them on board. We have an introductory meeting, and I think someone else was mentioning this, as you would do it, an informal interview where we sort of seek out what their skills are likely to be and what their area they're interested in. And then we ask them to agree to our sort of ways of working, which is through 2 forms, and I'll come on to that in the next couple of slides. So if they on board and it's all good, then we have a soft touch, a light monitoring, which is where we have get-togethers of the trustees. So this is the board who organise the Repair Cafe. There's 7 of us, and we get together quarterly, and it's just a check. Are we happy? Are things, are we confident that people are performing as they, are doing things they should be doing? We've had 1 issue in 9 years so far. That's all, and it's not really about competence. It was merely about commercial behaviour. So someone who's effectively not working within the free, if you wish it to be free. So actually looking to perhaps make use of his business as part of it. So, but we resolved that. That's fine. Okay, next slide then, please, Martin. So I mentioned when we on board, we have a chat with people. We get them to read and to sign up to the sort of the main, you could call it articles, I suppose, of how we work. The one form is a repair a volunteer form, and this is where we talk about the skills and the equipment that we're asking that they will be able to provide, but also anything they would expect or hope that we have. For example, we have a PAT test machine, and so obviously that's used on mains electrical equipment. And we ask them to accept our policies for health and safety, and for the current year it will be safeguarding, which is new to us. So we're having to change this form, and we're going to have to change and revalidate our volunteers. The other form, and again, Gunther mentioned this, safety, non-negotiable. Well, we all sort of agree with that. And so we have a health and safety guidelines form, which we ask them to sign, and that's really a subset of the health and safety policy. And it's just a lot of the key parts, and you can see what they are there. So it's things like trailing leads, making sure we look after the visitors, electrical safety, and use of tools and chemicals. Okay, next slide then, please, Martin. So I would say, what have we found? So initially we had a small core group of volunteers. So I think like every cafe, you start small. We probably had only 20, 30 visitors on average for the first year. And as I say, we're now at about 70. And we were evolving and therefore changing. And I think we had a higher turnover because either volunteers joined us and saw it wasn't exactly what they were expecting, or whatever, for whatever reason, maybe because we changed. We specifically requested volunteers at this point. So in our early first couple of years, within the media that I mentioned earlier, we would often put in a request. So sort of say, please contact us if you'd like to volunteer. As I say, we no longer do that. So just to put it in context for the turnover, we've had about 40 volunteers that have come and gone in the 9 years. So there's probably about 80 names that we have had at one point to do with the cafe, and many, like myself, have been there from day one. But then, you know, so the point there is that we're looking probably at about 4 people changing each year, and so that's all we have to do. And as I say, our current finding is that actually we can bring those in organically without any attraction or anything like that. Okay, next slide, please, Martin. I think it's worth saying a little bit about COVID. That changed everything for everyone in many ways, many sad ways, and it reset our cafe to a degree. We moved to an online model, so it wasn't really a cafe anymore. There was no face-to-face cafes. We lost volunteers, and quite reasonably. Some delayed return after COVID because they had other things to be doing. So because of that, it led to a specific recruitment drive, and we brought some more in, again, going back to the media, you know, through media. The other thing that it did for us was, and I think lots of organizations have found this, was we went to online communication groups, WhatsApp, and so we have a couple of WhatsApp groups now, and that's made things very, very easy, and that has endured after COVID. And that really helps. So volunteers can talk to one another. So it's a great way to sort of share knowledge, and to, if, for example, you've taken something away from a cafe to repair to take back to another session, and you're not sure where the spare, or, you know, whether you can get a spare or whatever, then, you know, people can talk. And to be honest, a lot of it is showing repairs that have been completed as well, because we're all very interested in sort of what everyone is doing. Okay, next slide then, Martin. I think I'm doing all right for time. Okay, so current considerations. As I said, we're not actively recruiting now. We have about 38 named volunteers, 20 to 25 active repairers, and 6 to 8 are active front desk and support staff. Really, really significant, all that, keeping things organized. And so we have repairer skills, yeah, but those other softer skills of being able to get people in the right place and to understand where best a repair would be done is quite a good skill. As I mentioned, our turnover is low, and we don't seek to expand upon this because 70 people in a 3-hour session is a lot of visitors. We are busy. It's a large hall we now have, and we don't have any more space, to be honest. Oh, okay. So we run at a thing called Spire Church in Farnham, in the centre of Farnham, and we have actually the church. The body of the church is now. When we started, we were small. We started in a small church hall attached to the church, but the church has become a sort of community church or something where they are actively promoting people using the main church area, and that's given us a lot more room. And hence we could accommodate those sort of 38 people, or around 38. Okay, next slide, please, Martin. Okay, so last points, revalidation. I mentioned that, you know, we keep a weather eye on, that's a suppose that's an English term. We do this informal review of how things are and how people are doing with repairs. But we need now to probably do a formal revalidation of this, partly because we've had this new it's been identified that we need a safeguarding policy which we've created recently, and so we need to make sure that everyone is signed up to that. What we're also doing is, and this last part sort of I find interesting, is looking at the issue of, and I think Gunther sort of alluded to this, is the difference between the nature of repairs, and so particularly for electronic and electrical items, the repairs can be mechanical, they can be software, they can be control systems. And our repairers have a broad spectrum of capabilities. I will do some electrical stuff, but for example, I won't generally do electronics or software. And it's just that we think we probably want to try and get a bit of a slightly more formal view in terms of our landscape of our capability there. Okay, I think that's it. If we go on to that, thank you, Martin. And there was another point Gunther mentioned, which I want to sort of echo. We have to remember that the volunteers do this for fun. They're not being paid, and therefore, you know, that to me anyway, whenever I'm involved in discussions of how we're running things, I always go back to the, you know, we need to make sure that we are as doing Occam's razor, I think, is a thing which is the, you know, the least complex that achieves the end. And that for me is exactly what we need to be aiming for, because we're not an international corporation, and you know, we are entirely dependent on volunteers, and they need to be happy with what they're doing. Okay, all right, thank you very much. There is one more slide, but it's just questions. Martin, I don't know if you want to run that on for general.
Yeah. Oops, let's move it on. Yeah, just building on John's last point before we open it up, maybe for some comments, is certainly what we've got back on a number of occasions is people want to be busy, but they don't want to be too busy that they feel they're back at work again. So they love solving the problems. So there's this sort of balance, you know. But sometimes when it's less busy, people like having a chat, very simply, just about life sometimes, rather than a repair. So it's all about fun and learning and teamwork and communications and sharing, as we've said before. So do we have any questions or comments that this spark? Questions to Gunther, Sebastian, or John? So if you can put your hand up, I see Sat has a hand up.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Martin, for organizing. Thanks, Martin, and thanks to all the speakers. My question is, to what extent are repair cafes supported by local authorities, i.e. the local municipality or local government, financially? And to what extent are repair cafes completely voluntary? And is there tension and issues around getting funded by even a local government organization?
Well, if I may answer that question, I think that depends. It varies from one initiative to the other. Some are completely independent and don't need any external funding, and others apply for a subsidy at their local municipality and get some funding just to pay for costs, like a special tool or coffee, and there are other repair cafes that get a free space from the municipality that they can use. So that's a form of subsidy too. But there's no general rule, I think. It's just if they can work with a certain system, then that will work for them. If they don't, then they'll try to look for funding elsewhere.
Thank you.
I'd just chime in from our side as well, because as part of an evaluation, for an award we've just had to go through, we've had to specify 100% of our time within the Repair Cafe is with the volunteers. So we have no employed people, even within our charitable structure. For us, local authorities supportive, and have been, softly supportive down the way. All the mayors that come in love to come down and have a photograph in the local press. We're now at a stage over 9 years that the town council include a page on us in the 20-page residents guide. So each year they send out a guide to the town, to all the residents, and we now have a page in that. So we feel that just in our example, we've just come a bit more integrated into the town, and they've actually offered us grants, but for us, we know we can generate more money, but the key question is, how would we use it? We're very focused. So that would just be from our comment. I just see another couple of hands up there. I see Steve Crickler and Chris Murphy.
Hi, yeah, thank you. Thanks to all the speakers for all their input. It's been very interesting. I volunteer at the Kenilworth Repair Cafe, which is in the middle of England near Coventry, and actually resonates a lot with the Farnham one, very similar. The question I have actually is how we meet, we do our Repair Cafe one Saturday afternoon a month, third Saturday of every month. Is that the same as everybody else? Are you all doing once a month? Do people do, is it not weekends? Is it during the week? Is it more often than that? Just curious how the rest of the world works, really.
Well, that varies too, actually. We keep track of all the repair cafes around the world. So we have a world map indicating where they are and when they come together. And usually the many have a meeting once a month, and usually on weekends. But in Amsterdam, there are actually many repair cafes that meet more than once a month, once a week, and also often on weekdays. So on Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday afternoon. And I think it works best when various repair cafes in the same community try to, not have their meetings at the same time, but to so that people can choose to go on weekdays or in the weekend. So it depends.
Yep, thank you very much.
Yeah, just a quick observation there. Two things there. We've noted that in our Surrey network as a sort of ecosystem that some are deliberately trying to not run their repair cafe on the same days as other people. So the idea in the county that if you can't go to one in one place, you might be able to go to another one 10 miles away. So that's sort of almost organically starting to develop. So that's just an observation, just again about the organic nature of repair cafes. So I see Chris's hands up there.
And I just quickly come back to that. We've got the same sort of ecosystem in Warwickshire. Leamington, Warwick, Coventry, Kenilworth, we're all quite close to each other. I think we all meet on a Saturday, but I think there's a sort of gentleman's agreement about first Saturday, second Saturday, third Saturday, and fourth Saturday in the month.
Yeah, just an informal observation on your other point, and building on what Martin is saying. I've noticed a little bit in the UK that some retirees get very enthusiastic and start to almost become full-time, which then opens up their models, then starting to open up to run more times during the week or more times over a month. So I think it's an observation I've seen of some of the UK ones. There are some models where they are starting to expand and open, not sort of 24/7, but maybe a couple of days a week or more than once a month. But anyway, I see Chris's hands up.
Hello, I had a three-part question for John. I'll be as succinct as possible. It was with regards to the experience over the 9 years. I wondered how he runs his booking system, whether they book in repairs or whether it's first come, first served. Ours is first come, first served. Also, the administration on the day is the second part of the question. Do you use paper forms or do you have an online system? We've got a bespoke online system now, and curious what other people do. And the third part of the question was demographic. What's the demographic of the makeup of the people that come to your repair cafe? And perhaps others, ours, we looked at our numbers, 85% of the people that visit us are over 40 and 50% are over 60. And we're curious about how people encourage the younger generation, because we'd obviously like to tip that towards a younger audience.
Yeah, thanks.
The booking, administration, and demographic.
Yeah, got it. I've written those down because I thought three things. I'm never going to remember all of them.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the booking and repairs, we rarely do. We do allow. I mean, we have on our website, you can advise that you're bringing stuff in, and for some of the like the items that we have fewer repairers for, so that would be cycles and laptops, we try to do that. We try to do a booking in, but most stuff we looked at it and we thought it's going to become too complex, and this comes back to my driving feeling of keeping it simple where we can. So we're quite happy for people, they roll up, and also it's quite, from a repairer's, because I'm a repairer as well, I mean, from a repairer's perspective, I quite like the idea of not knowing what's happening. I get a sense of security from believing that everything's chaos. So but no, not chaos, but you know, it's quite nice that it's not regimented, it's not all planned down to, because we during COVID we actually ran a drop-off service, as I say, not a cafe at all, but you know, it was, people were given time slots so they weren't falling over one another. They came in, we bagged stuff up, we left it in quarantine, and it was a very contractual type arrangement, and that's, to my mind, that's not what repair cafes are about, or certainly ours. To mine, you know, we get, and go to your last point about in terms of the demographic. Yeah, 85% older than 40. I could well imagine we're there. We actually, I'm not sure we do know that. But that sounds that we would be similar to that. But what those people do is, you know, I've had people give a donation when I've not been able to repair something, and they just say, it's just lovely. And you know, everyone goes, or most people go away smiling. Most people, you know, really enjoy the experience of going and trying to do something. And they appreciate that we're trying to help, we're trying to do it. And I think the fact that it's not too contractual in its nature really helps with that. You know, it's sort of the feeling is that we're sort of all in this together, and actually where we're trying to make things better. We're trying to cut down waste, we're trying not to fill up Africa with landfill and stuff like that, you know, that we seem to be hell-bent on doing as a society.
And on your administration side, is it paper?
Yeah, the admin, yeah. Paper. We did, and actually, I mean, there will be other cafes that will tell you, oh no, they've gone like tablets and stuff like that, and it's working really well. For ourselves, we've had the paper system, we've had it for some time, well, from inception, so 9 years. We looked at changing it, but I think a lot of the repairers would be, we capture quite a bit of repair data, probably more than is on the international. One of the things we're looking at actually for this year is to get our data to a point, to a format that we can download it into the international repair cafe data, because it's not in there yet, and but we have been maintaining quite good records. But to record a reasonable amount of data electronically is not what I think a lot of our repairers. We've talked to various of the repairers, and you know that many are not that keen to do that sort of thing. What an opportunity that it might present might be if you have younger members who perhaps are not so confident on repairing, to help out with that side of things. You know, so you could almost have, like they do on air traffic control, where you have a controller and an assistant. You could almost go to type of thing. But I don't want to try and create solutions that aren't applicable to you. But so no, we do paper.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll just build just one quick addition
Yeah.
to John's comment. Is we started with the sort of just drop in and book your product in, and then with COVID, as John said, we entirely reconfigured the model to make an online system using a triage and booking system, and we made that work really well. But as John was highlighting there, it worked really efficiently and well, and good levels of repair. But it didn't have that community feel. It was that it became very transactional. So again, it emphasised a key part of repair cafes is community and people. So when we did that, we went back to our old system because we felt it was more personal. However, my Surrey network, I'm seeing quite a number of people using online systems. And I guess one of the challenges we also see a little bit with that, it's quite difficult to predict how long it will take to do a repair. So actually booking in very specific slots is perhaps a bit difficult unless you, like us, have people who are prepared, on a voluntary basis to take products home to repair it in their own workshops and stuff. So that's just another additional point. And the demographics, it is older. We think there's probably a high proportion of women as well.
2/3 are as women compared with a third male.
Yeah. So it's we did, on our website, we did a survey of the classic sort of 100 customer survey. And we have it is definitely an older demographic with a bias towards females. I see Mandy, quick question before we have a short loo break for everybody.
Yeah, it's not a question really, it's just a comment about the admin. We've got a 2-page booking in system where we keep some of the records, but we give the customer a sheet to fill in, which then comes back, and the repairers then come and pick up items that they feel they can repair. And then when it's all done, there's quite a big area at the bottom where the customer can then make a comment, and invariably they are so positive. It says who's done the repair, and even as somebody else mentioned, when an item hasn't been repaired, there is still positive comments and saying, we'll tell our friends about it and things. But the other reason for, I think, sticking with the paper-based is that it gives us the data. Some of our repairers take items away to be repaired, so it gives us that information, and we've got phone numbers so repairers can contact customers when something's been repaired. And actually that happened to me this month because I brought some Christmas lights in, the repairer took them away, and then he contacted me when they were done. And the other reason for having the statistics is that we take photographs when the session is happening, and then these are put onto our Facebook page along with the data. So it says, how many items were repaired or taken away, and also what they were. So, it has a sort of multi-function by having the paper-based system.
Great. So I think that on that note, and working on that point around the demographics, we'll maybe just have a short loo coffee break, and then the next session will be a couple of presentations around recruitment of younger volunteers and younger repairers. So if we have a 10-minute break, and when we'll start up again at 6 o'clock GMT and 7 o'clock CET. And sorry, I haven't memorized the other time scales around the world, so I don't know what time it is in the US or other parts of the world at the moment. So we'll be back in 10 minutes. So see you in 10 minutes. Thanks.
Okay, see you in 10 minutes.
Bye.
Okay, so I think we're ready to start again now. We've got the next section on recruitment of younger repairers, which we've already heard is a an important issue, and we have hopefully Vladimir and sorry, my glasses here. Oh, Ola, I probably have that here. Are you both here? Yeah, great.
Yes,
Good.
can you
Good.
hear us? Can you hear us well?
Yeah, good.
Okay, good.
Good. So just start when you're ready and tell me when to move the slide forward.
Okay, thank you, Martin. We would like to thank Martin for inviting us to participate at the conference, at the webinar. Yeah, so we'll, at first, we're going to give a little bit of context about ourselves and our Repair Cafe. So next slide, please. No, it's not this. Okay, so this is the long presentation.
So 2 next slides, please.
2 next slides, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Olga and that's Volodymyr. We are members from Kyiv Hackerspace Hack Lab, and also we co-organizers of Repair Cafe in Kyiv. And next slide, please.
Yeah, so yeah, as Olga told, Hack Lab is a hackerspace in Kyiv, and we host all our repair cafes there, and it was founded in 2013. So we have a workshop like 200 square meters in Kyiv, and there's a lot of tools which makes it really perfect for hosting repair cafes. And also, which is very important, we have a strong and really diverse maker community, and those people have become our first volunteers, volunteer repairers. Yeah, and also the goal of the hackerspace, on the hackerspace culture, is to spread like making and technical education. And repair cafes fit really nicely into that. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, so that's why hackerspaces are really the perfect match for repair cafes, because we have really a physical space available, so we can host all our events there, and we have all the resources. We have like 3D printers, CNC machines, so we can handle really complex repairs. Yeah, and also we have a technical community. There's a lot of engineers, mechanical engineers, electronics, and they're happy to share their skills and to help other people. That's why it really works perfectly. Next slide, please.
And next slide. Yes.
Okay, that's fine. So yeah, so we were first planning to start making repair cafes at Hack Lab in 2019. And we were planning, everything was ready, but then the pandemic happened and we have to move that to 2021. And it was successful, but then again, and we planned to do more, and then the war happened and everything got just hanging, and then we were unsure if we were going to make any more, but we did host more events in 2023, and they were really good. Next slide.
So I think it's very important to conduct the repair cafe during the war time, because all of us fall out of our usual environment and we need a new place to talk with people, to find new friends, to socialization. And also, unfortunately, our country gets poorer, and it's cheaper to repair something than to buy a new one. So that's why economic reasons now more important for us than the ecological one. And when people learn how things works and how to repair them, they feel less helpless and they feel stronger. And it's amazing. Next slide, please.
Yeah, so what do we focus on our repair cafes? We really focus on teaching people how to repair things themselves. That's our like main goal. So that's why we don't have like a running basis when people come and go. We more have a pre-registration online, and we don't have like dedicated repair stations, which just have one large table where people they register for the event, and then like 20 people come and on one big table with the help of the repairers, they work on their stuff. And yeah, we do have some little limitations on what to repair. Sometimes we call people and say, okay, we're sorry, but we cannot repair this because we either don't have time or don't have the resources. I will say a little bit about that later, but that's how it works for us. Next slide.
And next slide, please. Yeah, thank you.
And again, next. Yeah, okay, this one is okay.
So now we only one organization who conducts the Repair Cafe in Ukraine, and you can do next slide. But we don't want to be alone, so we write some step-by-step manual how to run Repair Cafe, and we do some open discussion about this topic. And the fact that you accepted us into your international foundation gives us even more strength and inspiration to promote this culture in Ukraine. Thank you for sharing your experience. And next slide, please.
Yeah, this is a little bit of statistic. We won't stop at it like for now, but just to see, like the most of it is like home appliances and electrical parts. Next slide. If anyone will have question about that, we will talk later. And also, like, there are some things that we do not repair, mostly for the reasons that we either don't have the resources or the equipment, or some of them can be dangerous. Maybe we can talk about this in the Q&A section. So next slide.
And next slide again. Yeah, so we have some statistics there, and most our participants are female, and we're happy of this fact. And their age between 25 and 35 years old. And we very want to involve more older generation in our Repair Cafe because they're more vulnerable, their income is lower, and they don't have a lot of opportunities for socialization. But now we didn't get them. You see, we have young people on all the photos, and it's a problem for us. And next slide, please. And if we talk about our volunteers, all our volunteers, it's Hack Lab residents, and its majority is male, and their age is like 35 years old. And sometimes repairs who have finished repairing their things, they try to help others, but mostly is our Hack Lab residents. And next slide, please.
Yeah, so this is like the main question of our presentations that people are asking, like, why our repairers and attendees are so young? And probably there are several aspects to answer to this question. And the first is like we draw most of the repairers and also many people who come to us from the maker community and the hackerspace residents. And most of them are in their 30s. Also, there are certain economic and social contexts in current Ukraine, in modern day Ukraine, and sometimes like older people, they don't have much opportunities, and they don't have economical opportunities to come because they have to work and they don't have much time for volunteering. Also, the younger Ukrainians are much more environmentally conscious than the older generation. So for them, it's a very participation in repair cafes is a very progressive thing. Yeah, so yeah, next slide. Yeah, and also one of the one of the important things is we attract our audience mostly through social networks, and I guess our channels are more suited to attract younger audience. We actually have more trouble attracting the older audience, and maybe all of it.
Yes, we have two active pages on Instagram and Facebook. So we write and post this announcement of Repair Cafe between 2 weeks of Repair Cafe, and also we have pre-registration form in this post. Sometimes we want to do our Repair Cafe more popular, so we write some press releases and pushing in some internet mass media, and they write articles about us, and it's work, but it's all-time work for younger audience because all these communication channels are mainly read and watched by young people. And our hackerspace is located in industrial area, so we don't see the point to putting up some posters. It don't work for us. And how we involve our volunteers, we have some app like Slack. I don't know you use it in Europe and US or not. And we put some message before 2 or 3 days of event, and we ask who won't be a volunteer on Repair Cafe. And 7 to 10 people said, oh, we can do it. And they come and they help with repair for participants. And it's work every time.
Yeah, and we recruit our repairers mainly from the residents of a hackerspace. We don't do external recruitment. We don't need this at this stage.
And one time we have one situation in a radio. And
yeah. So one time we were invited to speak about repair cafes on the local radio. Actually, a little more older people come because they listen to the radio. They don't read Facebook. So
yes, it was only one time when one woman who is 70 years old come to our repair cafe, and it was amazing.
Yeah. But the most of the people there in their 30s. That's how it works for us.
Yeah.
Okay. Then next slide, and I guess those are just if you have any questions for us. Thank you.
That's excellent. I think the time maybe we'll roll the questions together with after the other presentations, but it's sort of just a very quick comment from me because right in the beginning when we got involved, we also did a survey of hackerspaces and repair cafes, and absolutely, as you described it, much more male orientated, pizza making stuff, younger. And it's a slightly different demographic from the mainstream of the repair cafe. So that was really interesting. Maybe we can pick that point up because but also that your point in austerity and challenges, how repair can become more attractive because it's all about keeping the stuff going when there's more and more challenges. So thank you very much. So I'll pass across now to Armin, if you are there.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Martin. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yep. I'll move across to your slide. Yep.
Nice. Yeah. So also thanks, Volodymyr and Olga. It was really nice, really interesting to hear about your repair cafe. I'm going to talk about the repair cafe of the Utrecht Science Park, which, as the name might suggest, is on the in the university campus of Utrecht. My role there is that I help set it up, and I'm also an employee of the university, and I will just come back to that later. So next slide, please. Yeah, so first I wanted to give you some numbers about our repair cafe. So we are hosting it every first Tuesday of the month from 2 until 5. So also on a weekday, and also not in the evening. That's because that's the opening times of the university, and that's also the time that more people will be there present. So that's more convenient for us. We started only in January 2023, so we just 1 year old at the moment. So just started actually, and we are not doing the editions in the summer holiday breaks. So just on regular days, not in the summer. Our team consists of around a repair pool of around 20 people. However, it differs a lot throughout the editions. Mainly, there's around 6 or 7 repairers showing up, and it consists of about 6 students, 7 employees of the university, and also 7 external repairers. And we do around 20 fixes per month. And people that come in are half students and half external. Next slide, please. Yeah, I just wanted to show you, for those who don't know where Utrecht is, it's in the middle of the Netherlands. So here on the picture. Next slide, please. Yeah, so how we might have a different structure than other repair cafes because I work at the Green Office, and the Green Office is a part of the university that focuses on sustainability. mainly on sustainability in so not only on like operation level, but also more on individual level, like trying to raise awareness among students and employees, for example. And I think a lot of universities in at least Western Europe will have a green office, because it's like quite a big thing at the moment. And one of our core ideas are that we are student driven. So the people that work at the green office are mostly students, but we're supported by some staff. We do all kinds of activities and projects regarding sustainability on campus, and we have a funding from the university as well, and a mandate. And also very important for the repair cafes, we also have a office space. So we have a space where we can host the repair cafes. Next slide. Yeah, so this is the structure. So as I said, I work at the green office of the Utrecht University, which is apart from the university. And then there's also on the same science park, there's also the University of Applied Sciences, and they also have a green office. And together we bound forces and started the repair cafe. Next slide, please. Yeah. So yeah, we started around a year ago with the idea came up. We heard about repair cafes quite some time before that, but around a year ago we got a lot of questions from people, from students, also employees, about whether it was possible to host a repair cafe. In Utrecht, most neighborhoods, well, there's a lot of repair cafes already existing in Utrecht. But just so not on the campus already. So we as a sort of neighborhood, we were already one of the last ones. So it was really logical to start it up. And how we did it, we first looked for repairers in the USP community. It says here, it means the science park community. So from the HU and the UU. And we found that at first mainly in people working on instruments for scientific purposes, for example. Those repairers wanted to help out first. Later on, a lot of students joined as well, and also we got some help from other repair cafes in the Utrecht city center. And then we notified ourselves to the repair cafe community, bought a handbook, and we started with doing some promotion. And then we just, well, then the thing is, you just see how it goes the first time. So that's what we did. So next slide, please. Yeah, and I think the advantages of having the structure, as I just mentioned, so it's not entirely voluntary based, but yeah, it's sort of part of the organization, is part of the university. I think it has 4 main advantages. So first, location. So we have like a space which is actually really nice space with a lot of plants, quite open, and also really on the campus as well, where people walk past a lot. So that's really an advantage that we already have with doing it this structure. So there's no sort of, we can just use that space always. Then second point, just came across a couple of minutes ago as well about funding. So we are funded by the university, which also means that yeah, we're not relying on donations, for example. Thirdly, is because I'm a working student, I have a lot of I have time assigned to the repair cafe, so I have a lot of more time to work on promotion, for example, and yeah, sort of talking to the network community and seeing how I can sort of involve everyone. So taking time in doing that really helps as well, I think. And lastly, also very important, is within the university, also within the green office community, well, there's already like an existing community of students, which is already, they're also young, and they're really yeah, focusing on sustainability already. So we could just sort of hop on this community train and be present here quite easily, actually. So next slide, please. Yeah. And so this is I think like 5 key points why our repair cafe is really good at attracting a young audience. Well, in the first case, and I think the main case here actually is that we are where they are. So as I just mentioned, we are on the science park. We are right at where the students are. It's easier for promotion, but also for them. They can just, if they add class, they can bring something that's broken and then have it be fixed. So that's really like a big thing. So convenience, I think, here is really important. And also for repairers, it's really easy to help out after that class. And also for having the younger community already, it's really easy to attract young repairers as well. Yeah, another thing that was just mentioned is social media. We do a lot of social media promotion here, for example, on Instagram. And also we make a WhatsApp post and then put it to everyone we know. So it really is like a message that's forwarded a lot. So that helps as well, especially amongst young people, I think. Last 3 points may sound a little blunt, but I think it's important nowadays to emphasize sustainability. I think the young people that come to our repair cafe do it mainly for two reasons, because it's convenient and cheap, but also because of sustainability, because they want to be green. And I think it's really important to emphasize a lot on that. So that's not only that's not that the repairing is also helps with for example your carbon footprint and things like that. That really attracts a lot of students, we realized. And lastly, also sounds really bluntly maybe, but I think maybe after COVID happened, or maybe it's just a younger generation, students aren't so eager always to put in a lot of commitment. So I think it's really important to state that if they want to help out, just let them join for once, for example, or for a couple of hours. Don't always start with, you can be a volunteer, but you have to be there every month, or you can't miss only a couple of times a year. I'd say just don't ask too much commitment from the young community at the moment, because I think it's really different than an older audience. Yeah, so that was everything I had to tell. So I'm curious about the questions in a minute. I think
Martin,
you're muted. Sorry.
Martin, you're muted, I think.
Sorry, yes, I was trying to be disciplined and not make too. But let's wrap all the questions up for after Don's presentation. So please prepare your questions for the team. So over to Don. I'll move your slide on.
Thank you, Martin. It's a pleasure to be here and have the opportunity to speak with you all today. Full disclosure, I am 56 years old and started organizing Repair Cafe when I was 49. So I'll not be talking about my own personal experiences joining, but based on the interviews and conversations I've had with our younger volunteers. And next slide, please. I'm speaking to you today from North Carolina in the southeast of the United States. North Carolina is a very diverse and talented state. We're known for everything from the world's largest military base, Fort Liberty, to the home of open source software pioneer Red Hat. We have the world's 5th largest bank in Bank of America. So it's quite a lot going on here in North Carolina, and higher education is very strong, and many of you will know Duke University as one of the leading institutions here. We've been operating since 2017 and cover right now about a third of the state with programs organized in several of the major cities. Next slide. So I'll be talking about under 40 volunteers, but primarily under 30 volunteers. That's kind of what age group, we are strongest in for younger participants. These are some of the characteristics that I think they all more or less have in common. They are generally all university educated with backgrounds in science, technology, engineering, and math. One of the things that is consistent among them is they have a service orientation in their personalities. So this is something that they're coming from a background where they have previously volunteered either at university or even in childhood activities. And so being of service is very important to this group. They're seeking opportunities that align with their values. And, you know, as previous speakers have noted, certainly being environmentally conscious and seeking sustainable activities are key to them. Generally, time is limited. And I think Armin said something similar, that they're going to be, you know, reluctant to make long-term commitments. Life changes quickly when you're in your 20s. One of the things that is characteristic of our volunteers is that they generally don't have school-age children. Our older volunteers are, you know, towards retirement ages, their children are grown. Our younger volunteers are not yet raising children. I think generally it's a rule, at least here in the US, that once someone has children, you're going to lose them as a volunteer. Their focus is going to be more about volunteering that can support their children's growth and development rather than their own activities. This group is also somewhat income sensitive. So by that, I don't mean that they're coming from underprivileged backgrounds or that they're poor, but rather that they are coming from a history where they've seen their family maybe go through hardship after the 2008 financial crisis. They have perhaps seen early stages of their career disrupted by the pandemic. They may see more income, more employment volatility than their parents did. So they're going to be more cost conscious. So these volunteers are more likely to shop in thrift stores than their parents did. They're more likely to try to extend the useful life of the things they own. And in several cases, I know them to be people who've overcome challenges in their own personal lives, whether it's through non-traditional educational experiences or other situations. So they're accustomed to coming up against challenges and trying to overcome them. Next slide. So I'm going to talk about 3 different dimensions to this. The first is recruitment, and then reward and retention. When it comes to recruiting, I think it's really important to understand what their motivations are. As I mentioned, service orientation, the word helpfulness is the word that all of them use most consistently in describing their desire. They want to be helpful. They want to be able to share their skills and also develop new skills. Many of them, as I said, are coming from science and technology backgrounds. And as a previous speaker, I think during the first portion of our program today, said that they didn't learn about electrical repair as an electrical engineering student. That's very true with our younger volunteers. They are looking for opportunities to get their hands dirty, to work in the other side of product development. And so this is a good opportunity for them. And they do include that in their LinkedIn profiles. They see it as being something that's going to help their career. I've mentioned, you know, the importance of cost savings, and generally they are not primarily motivated by this as a climate action or global climate change concern. We are addressing that, and when it comes to matching with their values, they are going to confirm that yes, you know, Repair Cafe is in alignment with their concerns about climate change, but it is not their primary motivator to be there. Instead, they see that this is more in line with primarily their desire to be helpful, to share their skills, to reach out and support members of their community. It's important that, you know, as you're recruiting for these folks, that you are prepared to respond to them. I think it was Armin and also Vladimir and Ola who mentioned you need to meet them where they are and use the technologies that are familiar to them. So next slide, please. As you work with them and meet them, especially for the first time, anticipate that they're going to have some barriers to entry that your 65-year-old volunteer may not have. You know, your older volunteers are going to have an excess of confidence, often unjustified, but they will be confident in doing their repairs. At younger ages, it may be the first time they're coming up against a particular kind of repair, and they're going to be hesitant and will need a little bit more coaching, a little bit more support to continue trying a repair that they may not be having success with. You want to avoid, early surrender on a repair. So make sure that their skill set is well matched to the project that they're working on. One of the things that several of them have mentioned to me is what can be described as imposter syndrome, the fear of being found out as a fraud. So if you come into a group where you are by decades the youngest person in the room, and yet you represent that you can do a particular type of repair, you may be afraid that the retired engineer sitting next to you is going to be dismissive or judgmental about the work you do. So it's important to create an environment where they feel safe and confident in doing their work without being singled out for any deficiencies. Recognize that they are significantly different in age from the other people in the room. Not everyone has the self-confidence to feel comfortable in that environment. And as was previously mentioned, lack of free time is certainly a consideration for this group. They are in the early stages of their career, so their workaday life is busy. They have limited time on the weekends to socialize with friends and other activities. So asking them for half a day commitment is a big commitment. So appreciate that and respect that. Next slide. So when we're out there doing our outreach, our marketing, we want to be engaging with them where they are. I think Armin used that same phrase. So in the marketing, show young, diverse faces of real people, your real volunteers. Don't rely on stock photos or photos from another repair cafe somewhere else. As much as you can, build up your own collection of artwork and feature those faces. A little bit less on Facebook and a little bit more in other channels like Instagram and Reddit. At least here in the US, Reddit seems to be an effective way of reaching a younger audience. And be prepared to respond to the inquiries when they come in whichever medium it is. You're likely to get text messages, you're likely to get email messages, perhaps inquiries through your website. Jump on them as quickly as possible. Don't wait for more traditional contact means like telephone or face-to-face. If you can engage with them quickly, strike while the iron is hot, as the phrase goes. You want to be there where they are. Next slide. So once you have them and you've got them in, it's important to recognize and reward them for their participation. So some of the things we do to make them feel more comfortable and to feel valued is we partner them with existing volunteers. In our first day on the job, you say they are partnered with a mentor who can demonstrate to them how we work with our guests. How do we talk about repair? What are the kinds of tools and things that we're using? Not so much to teach them how to do repair, but to teach them how to be at a repair cafe and to make sure that they feel supported and encouraged. We provide all of our volunteers with aprons. You see that in the pictures here. These are inexpensive polyester aprons that you can get from Amazon, roughly $2 a piece or less. It gives everyone a sense of cohesion. There's a common sense of identity. After someone volunteers for 3 times, we get them their own name badge. So, and then we make it something of an event to present them with their name badge at the beginning of a workshop so that they feel kind of singled out and recognized for their contribution to date. This is a generation that is expecting to be rewarded and recognized. The same thing is happening in their workplace. There's more frequent distribution of perks, recognitions, and things in the workplace, and they expect the same thing from their volunteer activities. Next slide. And so retention over time is going to be key to keeping these people around. Recognize that if you have long delays between your workshops, that's a long, long time in the age of a 25-year-old. Life changes quickly. So stay engaged with them so they continue to feel like a member of the group, even between events. Give them leadership opportunities. So, we had a volunteer from a city about over 100 kilometers away. We tasked them with organizing a new repair cafe in their city. It was something they were interested in doing. And at the age of 25, they're now taking a leadership role organizing, getting venues, getting donations. So that's rewarding for them, and it's transferable skills that'll be useful in the workplace. Give them maybe marketing and organizational duties. Putting them in charge of your Instagram presence may be very much kind of a social media activity that they're comfortable with and that they can perhaps do better than you. And be sure you're asking for feedback. Younger volunteers are going to be very reluctant to criticize or to contribute any kind of commentary. They're going to assume that, you know, things are structured in a particular way for a certain reason and may be inhibited to bring forward their own ideas. So you need to ask them. You can't sit back and wait for somebody to come to you with a new idea. And that's generally advice, I think, for all of the volunteers you work with. And next slide. Okay, that's it. So as part of the Q&A, I'd be happy to take any questions. And back to you, Martin.
My mic off. On again. So thanks for that, Don. Thanks, very comprehensive. And there was a lot of detail there in stuff to do with Gen Z, etc. that I could recognize, which was very interesting, transferability from the other areas. So I think if we can open up questions, maybe specifically for the youth part of this for 10 minutes before we have any general discussion. So do we have any specific questions or comments on the youth side? If I see Martin is unmuting, so that means I'm sure a question is coming. So over to you, Martin.
So, well, I thought there was Carlos from Portugal who would like to share something.
I can't see Carlos on my screen, so fire ahead, Carlos.
Hello. Sorry,
there you are.
I'm here with my little baby. Yes. Well, first of all, thank you so much. It's been really inspiring to hear and useful to hear all these contributes and stories and contributes from other repair communities. We are Boinho. We are in rural Portugal, in the south of Portugal, in a small town called Sardana. We are a Fab Lab, and the reason why they asked us to talk a little bit very briefly is because we recently finished the Erasmus project about repair communities in rural Europe, because we felt that there starts to have repair communities in small villages, in small places, and there's still a lot of focus in big cities or more repair cafes, almost more as a urban phenomenon. So together with Fab Lab Cuenca in Spain and mountain makers in a small town in France, Manzat, we decided to make repair cafes, sharing practices. We invited people from repair cafes all over Europe, from Ireland, I don't know, from France, from Denmark. And it was great. And it was great to have the possibility also to compare the differences between having a repair community in a city versus having a community in a repair cafe or repair community in a small place like ours. I was hearing the importance of social media. And for example, here is the opposite. I was hearing the colleagues from Kiev talking about young people. Here is again the opposite. So it was really interesting. We made the video we shared with the colleagues from Repair Foundation, and it's there to try to inspire other repair communities all over Europe and to also to act and to start and to develop this wonderful movement that is the repair movement. And that's basically it.
Thank you very much, Carlos. We'll share the link to your video.
Yeah.
In the report.
Can you, if you've got a link to the video, please put it in the chat. If you that would be great. That means that we would be able to get it out there.
Yes, I will.
So what I hadn't mentioned is we're recording this and we'll share the link to the video, but also we'll be sharing the chat. But that's what will happen after the session. But I see Brian's hand up and then Sat.
Yes, thanks, Martin and Martine. It's good to hear from you both again. I just wanted to comment a bit on the involvement of young people. It's something that has been vexing us now for the 6 years that we've been operating down here in East Sussex in the UK. This is a bit UK specific, but one way we've found into this is to engage with the local Duke of Edinburgh award scheme. And as a result, we have got Duke of Edinburgh silver individuals coming in to do their volunteering session with us. It has a mutual benefit. Forgive me for those of you that are coming in from abroad, and some of you I kind of know, particularly Don from the US because we work together. But I think that you probably have something similar in your own countries. It is a statutory, well-supported, long-existing project in the UK that enables young people to get experience of working with other organisations. Part of that is a volunteering project. We've got in on it by negotiating with the local school and the local Duke of Edinburgh Award Scheme. And we've had some really, really excellent young people coming in. And you know what? They stay with us. Our first Duke of Edinburgh Award Scheme individual has come back and is still working with us as a supervised volunteer because he's under 18. And the second one was his responsible adult was his mum. And guess what? His mum's now joined us as a volunteer working on our reception desk. So the spin-offs are enormous, but we've worked really hard to try and get through this, and including going into a primary school during the summer last year for summer schools. It is really, really difficult. Part of the difficulty, if I just finish off quickly, is that I think there's a tendency amongst some young people to embrace the throwaway culture dramatically, and to get them beyond that to where they actually understand repairing and what repairing is all about. And it isn't just an old man's game. I'm kind of saying this to my grandchildren now, but it really is something that they can engage with. So think on that. There are ways of doing this, but they're not always the obvious ones. Thanks very much.
Indeed, we've had Duke of Edinburgh's on front desk as well. Issue we've faced a little bit, the young people under 18s is the safeguarding issues, and I'd be interested to hear if this is an issue that has emerged outside the UK. We've got quite strict approaches to this, but anyway, I see Sat's hand is up.
Thank you, Don, and thank you for the speaker from Utrecht as well. So my question on the younger generation is, I guess, psychographically, they tend to be a lot more flexible, and maybe we might call it, the older generation might call it, not as reliable. I don't mean anything bad about that. Flexibility is a good thing. So is it difficult to find youngsters who will actually stick with the project for a long haul? And then on a similar vein with Utrecht, I guess the students are very, very busy. So the fact that you've got the event on a weekday and it's a longer session, does that mean that you kind of don't really capture all the potential students that could come and help because they've got, studies going on or exams going on and so on and so forth?
No, yeah, definitely. So, so first of all, I think it's maybe a little bit difficult for us to already say that there's like people sticking for a longer period, because we just sort of started like a year ago, and I think the first 2 or 3 times we did it, there were maybe only 1 or 2 students, and so the students that come now are, I think they generally stick like for a couple of months. There's now I think 2 that have been here for at least half a year already. So you could say that they are really sticking along, to say. But the thing is, well, their schedule changes every semester, every 3 months. So and there's always a possibility that you can't make it on the Tuesday afternoon. So yeah, that's one of the things we have to face. The building is only open on weekdays until 6, so we can't. We also can't really shift it to another date, for example. But I think like the general input is like, if you can make it, it's really nice, and if you can't this semester, then you're always welcome the next semester. I think that's sort of the way we are trying to go on about it. and which also is sometimes the case that if they like class, for example, they have to do things on their for their own. It's not always that they're totally full from like the whole Tuesday afternoon. So sometimes they just hop on in during the break, or just after they're done with doing what they have to do. So so in general, I think it's it's a little bit more difficult because you cannot always rely on people that they can be there. But the advantage here is that because it's in the science park, that it does attract a lot of people. So it helps that way, I think. Yeah.
Can I just ask a question to you, Armin, and also Vladimir and Ola? Is most of the vast majority of Western European or European repair cafes include older repairers, lifetime of experience, etc., etc., etc. One of the oddities in Europe is Sweden, and I don't know if we have anybody from Sweden on here, in that they're also not getting older repairers there. It's a lot of young engineering students who are repairing in parallel with YouTube videos. So they're very active, wanting to learn, YouTube, other things. And so they're building their knowledge that way rather than drawing down 30, 40, 50 years of experience and knowledge. Do you have any comments on that? Is that something you see, within your two, bodies?
Yeah, well, I think I think I can imagine that sort of young people that know how to fix things. I think it's a little bit more rare than maybe in Sweden, for example. And also, there's only like a small portion of students that are able to know how to fix things. But on the other hand, the ones that do know usually don't really get it out of school or something. So it's something they catch up on by themselves, and also something that they really like to do. So yeah, I can imagine it's a little bit more difficult to find people that have these kind of experience. Yeah.
Sweden was odd because you would expect there to be loads of repair cafes in Sweden because it's very community orientated, very green, but actually very few. And their model is much more younger people, learning, etc., etc. I see you, yeah, Vladimir, yeah, and Ola, your hand is up.
Yeah, I would like to add that like in our hackerspace, there are a lot of people who don't have engineering background, and they just came there to learn from others, and this is a very important aspect of the maker culture. And like taking myself, I have a design background and architecture background, and I learned like a lot of engineering in 5 years. And I work now as an engineering prototyper. And there's a lot of people like me. And
yeah, I'm learning culture studies in university, but now I help to people on repair cafes solder some things or repair some lamps, because I learned this in our hackerspace, and it's a great place to find new skills like engineering skills. And also we have a lot of 3D printers, CNC milling machine, laser cutter, and you can learn how to use it, because usually in our university we don't have like a good lab with equipment.
Yeah.
So you cannot learn these skills in other places.
Yeah, and people come for us to learn, and that's the basic principle.
And sometimes when we do some repairs, we use YouTube video.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially when you need to
disassemble
some things, because some stuff disassemble very, very hard. And
yeah, it was designed to be disassembled hard. Yeah.
And we watch how do it on YouTube, and it's helped.
Yeah.
Excellent. So perhaps, we can just finish up the last 10 minutes with any general questions, that people have, or general observations that people want to tackle, or specific questions or problems that they're looking to get some different perspectives. So I see Gunther's hand is up, and then Sat.
Yep, I have a question, just run into it. We have a very popular magazine in Germany. This is it, and it tests technical appliances equipment. And what I miss is this topic of repairability, or how easy is it, or is it repairable? And so I wrote an email to this magazine. But is there anything else I or we could do to bring that into those test publications? Question mark.
Yeah, I mean, just a quick comment for me. We have something similar, because I know you have a lot of these sort of consumer evaluation and testing things in Germany. We have something called the Which magazine, which has something similar. I think that's probably true in a lot of places. You know, I think in some of those, in some countries, things like energy efficiency, repairability might starting to become in as criteria, but they're generally, I think those testing magazines are driven often by the consumer side rather than regulation. So it's what consumers are looking at, so that it may be a function of crowdsourcing all of our all of our customers to actually in different countries to target maybe some of these test houses to say actually repairability is becoming more important, and you should be evaluating companies' products against that. Maybe I'm just brainstorming there, but yeah. Do we have any other comments in relation to Gunther's observation there? We've got Arne. Arne?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. We are using our data to inform our consumers in Denmark about which products can be expected to be repairable. So we've just done a small article on kitchen machines, where we have tried to look at our statistics on different producers of kitchen machines. The funny part is that we always know when it's a KitchenAid machine, we know which gear wheel has been damaged because they put in one nylon gear wheel and the rest is steel. So it's a bit more expensive machine, but we always know what's wrong. We know how to get into it. And we try to say that we are the common knowledge of the consumers. So we have a duty to get our data together and try to do some elaboration on the data and some conclusions. So we'll try definitely to do that more in the future. Of course, it's a problem. We have maybe 9,000 registered reparation records, but when you spread that out on a lot of items, then you can sometimes only find 5 for some same producer. But data, I think we can do more with data than we can do with our hands. But our hands is where we get the data. That's where we get the experience, and that's where we spread the experience. So it's mutually helping each other.
Well, it's a very good theme for the next workshop that we'll be organizing with, with Martin. Is the next one will be around data and information. So very relevant, and similarly, in a similar vein, we, like you, like a number of others, are really starting to mine our data and find out, particularly the characteristics of those products that are more difficult to repair and those that are easier to repair. But that actually requires investment of time to actually mine all that data. So I think personally it's an excellent initiative by Martin in terms of the repair monitor. But a question we had was, why so many coffee machines? And then Martin said that's because the Dutch drink a lot of coffee or something. I don't know. But it's we also get coffee machines, but I think, yeah, collecting the data, analyzing it, and using it is perhaps the next stage of development in the Repair Cafe movement. But it was Sat, you had your hand up again.
Yes, so I had a question which is sort of related, and Jan mentioned this right at the beginning from France, and also Martin, you also touched on this need for manufacturers to open up their information to consumers and volunteer repairers, etc., etc. The challenge I see there is that manufacturers potentially may feel that they are putting their IP, their intellectual property, out there for others to exploit, and they might get nervous. So how do we encourage manufacturers to actually share more of their IP, or at least some of the manuals and so on, without them feeling that this is going to backfire on them? So that's a question to the group.
IP, that's quite a complicated one. I mean, just a quick response is one of the fundamental things that I've recognized is, of course, the products that come in to repair cafes are owned by consumers and citizens and not the manufacturers. So it's their property, actually, at that stage. And it gets into some sort of quite complicated areas there. But anyway, I see Margaret's hand is up, and then yeah, Margaret's hand is up. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, in our repair cafes, basically I list, the possible coaches, and then people just come with their stuff. And I'd like to have a simpler way to know who's coming and what they need. But I'm the main administrator, and I just can't imagine getting all these online emails like, I'm bringing this, do you have that? Anybody have a simple way of doing that system?
I mean, there are now online systems certainly emerging in the UK to register people that I have come across in our broader activity, and I'm hearing. So there is certainly stuff being developed in the UK, and some people on the call might have those systems that they might want to put in the chats, and there may be others that are doing that as well. But certainly, yeah, I'm aware of some doing online systems. Ourselves, we've been through this and we've ended up sticking with paper because it works. And actually, going back to some of the stuff that John and others were saying, a lot of the repairers there are there to solve problems, have fun, and not get involved in filling in too many forms, getting into filling in stuff on tablets and stuff like this. So there's this balance issue that we're very much aware of. I see a whole load of hands are going up there. I think I'm seeing Bill waving, but I don't see a hand up. But anyway, okay, we'll take. So you're a new person for the conversation, Bill. Yeah, please shoot. Yeah.
Okay. Hi. I've done the Repair Cafe for a few years before COVID as a participant. Now I'm in charge because no one else was stepping in. And I totally agree with what you said. What I love about it is I sit there and I fix things for 4 to 5 hours. Now, as far as organizing what we brought, since I've never been part of organizing, I just showed up the day with all my toys and my own table and everything. And I worked in electric, and all the guys there, we'd spread our stuff out and tell each other what we had so that we could share. And over time, we learned each other's specialties. And, if it was soldering, there's one guy that's best. There's another guy that's fastest at dismantling, the vacuum cleaners. And, I'm fast with lamps. So, and we're just sharing. And it's very spur of the moment. And we get a lot of stuff fixed. So anyways.
I recognize that from our side, where people build up the knowledge in certain areas, and then what we've also recognized very recently is that one of our sort of advanced guru repairers, he's observed that some people are booking in products that's not fixable, but he reckons he can fix it. So we're trying to look at a system to get people to sort of share, see if we can you know, if something is not fixed, to take it to the sort of the highest level experts to further extend, to try and extend the repair rate. But I see some other hands that haven't spoken before. Somebody called iPad, but I don't think that's your name. Yeah, that's you waving your hand. I don't think you're called iPad, but maybe introduce yourself. You're on mute.
My name's Norman. I run the Tunbridge Repair Cafe in the UK. There have been a few questions about alternatives to paper systems, and we're using, it has been mentioned in the chat, but I'll just say it again, that Tunbridge Wells Repair Cafe have developed a system entirely to replace paper, and it has lots of functions. And if you want to find out about it, then you can Google Tunbridge Wells Repair Cafe. That's TUN Bridge Repair Cafe, and you can contact them for more information.
Do you want to just put that into the chat? You know, I think that'd be great.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, because again, as I mentioned there, we're aware that there are various software programs that are out there, and some I think are outsourcing that for free. Some I think are looking to charge. As I say, from our experience, we've been through, you know, paper, online, and we're back in paper because we find it suits us. So I think for time, maybe, are you still there, Martine?
I'm here, yes.
Yeah. Did you want to make any sort of concluding comments or observations?
Yeah, well, I've been impressed with the great views that you've all shared, and also with the participants who have stayed with us for the full 3 hours. A big thank you for that to everyone, and also to the presenters for sharing your views and your valuable experiences. It's been really great to hear from you all and to see you all. And yeah, I would like to say thank you to everyone and hope to see you back at our next event. And specifically, I would like to thank Volodymyr and Olha for being here with us under such difficult circumstances. Well, it's been great to see you here. Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting us and letting us join the Repair Cafe Foundation. It's a really great thing.
Just a last comment to me before we move into the weekend for all of us. You know, fantastic that everyone has joined, and I think we had maybe 180 to 200 from the 280 or 90 that signed up, which is just showing, you know, the growing interest in sharing and accessing information. I think the last thing I'd like to say from my side is, wearing my other hat at the university, watch out for a note going around that we are going to be able to fully fund a PhD around repair cafes, which also there'll be more information going around the networks on that. So that's a great opportunity for anybody who's really interested to study and go into more detail around this. So thanks everybody, you know, and we will hear from Martine and myself at some stage about the next one. So watch out for the emails. So have a great weekend, everybody.
Yes, have a great weekend. There will be a report on the repaircafe.org website about this webinar with the link to a YouTube video, which Martin will provide.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.